Hello, everybody. We are live. We really are live. Those of you wondering why on earth she's saying that, you will find out a little later on in this intro why I'm saying we're really live. It is brilliant to have you all here for what I know is going to be a super fascinating debate. I've just been chatting with our panelists off screen, and this is going to be a really good one. I know what they all are, but this one really is. So what are we talking about? We're talking about customer service. The department, the marketing team are least likely to catch up with regularly. But in a world where the customer expects a seamless experience and where we're having to switch to a profit-first, retention-focused strategy, your customer service department has become an essential part of your marketing and growth mix. So how do we get it right? Is it all about the tech? Is it all about AI? Is it all about people? Is it all about training or messages? Where do your customers get involved in this? Or is it all of the above? We're going to find out answers to those questions and many more once our panelists join us. And it's also going to be the chance to get your questions answered, because I would love for you to drive the conversation. I feel like customer service is one of those areas where we could do 20 webinars and fail to cover everything you want. So I would love it if you could help me understand what you really want to get out of this one by adding questions in the box to the right. I said I'd say why I'm saying we're really live. I need to apologize to those of you who turned up an hour ago for this session. That was entirely my fault. The buck stops here. I clearly put the wrong time into the machine. Don't know how I did it. I swear I checked it as well, because we had all kinds of time zone issues a while ago. But anyway, my fault. I am very, very sorry. Huge thanks to Edward, Tony, and Julio for alerting me to that problem. I owe each of you a book. Please email me. We will sort that out as a way of me saying thank you and apologies to you. But we're all here. We're in the right place. I know some of you have logged in live, so we must be broadcasting live. I'm now going to forget about the tech and just worry about the content. So this is part of our eCommerce Explored series, where we explore the big topics in eCommerce with our amazing panel guests. It's a joint project between my business's eCommerce Tech and eCommerce Master Plan. And this one in particular is sponsored by some brilliant people who you will be meeting very shortly. The teams at eDesk and Tidio have sponsored this, which makes the whole thing possible. So you can find out more about them somewhere on the page you're watching on right now as well. So I said we wanted your questions. Oh, we've got comments coming in. Who's coming in? Edward, you are here and you've made it. And yes, it's very kind of me to send you a book. I know, but you put up with me putting everything live an hour, or saying I was going to put things live an hour early and then failing to do it. So least I can do. Thank you so much for turning up again for this one. So where did we get to? I was going to tell you how to ask questions. So on that part in the right hand side of your screen, you can see how to send questions through. Those questions come through to me and to all the panelists, so you may well find they're answering your question before I manage to ask it, because they can get a bit active in that comment thread as well. So please add those questions in as we go. The sooner you add them, the more likely I'm going to be able to ask the questions. There are people, some have a very bad habit of waiting until the last 5 minutes and thinking I can ask and get answered your very complex question at that point. I can't. So send those questions in as they occur to you, as they're triggered by what we're talking about, or if you've got something you want to know about customer services and e-commerce right now, put it in the comment box and I will do my best to get it answered for you. So who is joining me in this session today? Because to be honest, I know enough to ask the questions about customer service. I'm not sure I know enough to answer the questions. So I'm really glad we've got this brilliant lineup of panelists joining us. I have gone out there to find some wide-ranging experience, okay? Some very different approaches to little parts of customer service and to the whole thing are being represented by our panelists today. So we've got Brendan Hughes from eDesk, one of our lovely sponsors. We've got Olek from Tidio, another of our lovely sponsors. Great to have you with us, gentlemen. We've got Mark from Most, proper curveball guest. Just wait till you hear what Mark's company does. And we've got Rosie from Nibble, definitely our gunning for AI or a big supporter of AI on the session. So really pleased to have them all here. And then I'm Chloe Thomas. I am host of a couple of podcasts, editor-in-chief at eCommerce Tech, and the one who gets to ask the questions in this series. So that's most definitely enough of me alone. I think we should bring our lovely panelists up. Let's get them properly visible on the screen. Hello, everybody. Awesome.
Hi, lovely to be here.
Very cool to have
Hello.
you here. We are going to go around the screen for intros, please. So we'll start with you, Oleg. Could you please let us know a little bit more about you and about what you get up to at Tidio, please?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm Oleg, and I'm taking care of all our customers at Tidio. Tidio is a live chat app. It started as a live chat app, and now we are powered by AI, so you can automate a lot of things. You can automate your customer service, and that's what we do, and we get great results, including my team as well.
Brilliant. Mark, our slightly curveball guest, please let everybody know what you and the team at Most get up to.
Hey, Chloe, thanks for having me. So we are Most. We're a conversational UGC app. We help e-commerce brands, Shopify brands, since we're launching a Shopify app this month, collect UGC from customers and display it on their website through our library of interactive widgets. And sort of the curveball you're referring to is that what's unique about our app is it allows shoppers to actually connect with the profiles of customers that are uploading their UGC. So we facilitate one-to-one conversations between a shopper and a customer, and in some cases through a map widget, even facilitate meetups between shoppers and customers. So kind of touches on the customer support element we'll be talking about today. So I look forward to getting into it.
Yeah, I love what you guys do. And it's such a cool thing for many businesses. And so in case anyone's going, what does he know about? This is, and that basically your customers become part of your customer service team. How awesome is that? It's like UGC taken to some far off land.
UGC on steroids.
Yeah. It's like gone. It's gone. It's disappeared. Rosie, please let us know a bit more about yourself and Nibble.
Sure, I'm Rosie Bailey. I'm the CEO and co-founder at Nibble. We also have a Shopify app and a Magento plugin, but also an API linkage. It's a chatbot. It's a purely AI chatbot, and it can negotiate a price. The place that you use that is after the customer has considered a purchase, but when they are wavering for whatever reason, you give them the chance at that point to have a one-on-one conversation with you to try and agree a deal. The deal is normally about half the discount that you normally offer through voucher codes or signups, and the impact on conversion for most of our clients is plus 20%. So from that point of view, you use it in a very specific place. And I suppose my angle on customer service is we've created this chatbot for a very specific purpose, to give the customer a deal to get them over the line. And I suppose I come at it from the point of view that AI is really great for that. But if you've got a very defined use case, it's easier to design something seamless and fun, frankly, for the customer to interact with.
I suspect AI will be coming up a lot more in this discussion. So if you've got questions around that, please do ask us in the comments. And I suspect this idea of customer services not being one homogenous blob is also something we're going to end up talking about. So if you want to know more about that, please do make sure you're asking us questions in the comments even. That would be great. And Brendan, last but by very means not least, please let us know a bit more about yourself and eDesk.
Hey, Chloe. So yes, I'm the Chief Customer Officer here at eDesk, and we're an e-commerce service desk. And how we're different to many other services desks in the market is that typically our customers are selling on kind of 10 to 20 different sales channels, so from Shopify and BigCommerce and Magento web stores onto the full range of marketplaces that people might be kind of selling on. And I guess the problem that we solve for our customers is when you're selling on different stores, marketplaces, and you're getting messages from different social channels. Your team, your customer service team, are logging in lots and lots of different places and trying to figure out what's going on and who's this customer, where's their order, how do I process a return. The policy is different for that channel, and we streamline all of that in one beautiful inbox. And obviously, you layer on AI and automation, and their lives get a little bit easier. So that's who we are.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Well, everyone watching, I said we had a fascinating set of panelists. So we are ready and primed to answer your questions. But before we start looking at your questions, I've got some of my own. And regular participants or viewers of these webinars will know I like to start with a few statements for our guests and to see what they think of these statements. Now, these could be statements that I believe are true, or they could be sentences we're going to end. The first one is one that I've alluded to a few times in our intro, which is that I think so often customer service departments are seen as just a cost. They're just something that has to be done. They're a necessary evil in some ways. But actually, if a customer service department is working well, then it becomes a sales channel and it drives your sales. Brendan, I can see you nodding. So do you want to give your perspective on this? Am I right? Am I wrong? Have I missed some nuance? What's your take on this one?
Yeah, I'll take. I think we all understand that the answer is probably yes, but maybe my comment on this is I've worked in e-commerce for maybe 20 years, and a lot of my time was in the advertising kind of side of the house. And I think the ad industry has done a great job of telling everyone how much money it makes and how much sales it drives. And I think the customer service department, that, as you say, sits in the corner, and the marketing and salespeople probably don't want to really talk to them, because it just creates maybe issues and topics. So we've started to track what we call service attributed revenue. So all of the revenue that comes directly from a customer service kind of interaction, and we know the numbers behind that, and then but all of the repeat purchase behavior that comes kind of post kind of a service inquiry or a service engagement, because again we all know, and we know this from personal experience, we know from kind of data in the industry, as soon as you have a negative experience with a brand that you may previously have loved, and then very quickly your attitude towards that brand kind of changes. So I don't think anyone here is going to argue that the answer to this is no, but my point is, I think we've done a kind of a relatively poor job in the industry of letting everyone know and demonstrating to everyone inside an organization how much revenue is actually driven by the customer service team.
So step one, start actually tracking it.
Yeah.
Rosie, you wanted to come in on that.
I think this is where, and I know I said it earlier, but about picking a specific use or a specific problem. And we were speaking to one of our clients, actually sells B2B, and on the product page, they have a sort of get in touch form. So what they're trying to do is say, if you want to buy just one of these items, click add to cart. But if you want to buy lots of them, fill out this form. And he was new to his role managing the customer service team. And for one day, he took over this form and answered every single form within a few minutes, i.e. as soon as it was done. And he moved conversion of that form from under 15% to around 45%.
Wow.
And so it's about picking your battles and knowing what you want to solve. But then he had a further problem in that the following day, he said to his team, could you try and answer these as swiftly as you can? And they still struggled to prioritize it. And I think it was a human problem as much as anything else. You know, they were on the phone, they were answering emails, and this form just never bubbled to the top. And honestly, this is, and I must speak my own territory, but this is where I think AI can help a lot, because AI will answer that form immediately. And it can be very empathetic and very sensitive. And anyone who saw the GPT-4 announcement yesterday, that's what they were really wellying, was this ability to put an emotional connection through your automated responses now, which we can get into the ethics of it, but I can tell you now it really works. And people do want to engage on an emotive level, even if they know it's an automated system, an avatar or a chatbot or whatever you like to say.
I love that.
I think it's that specific goal that you need to find for your business.
I think that's so true, Rosie. And the example you're saying there about, the guy being new to it, going, right, I'm going to do this really well for a day and we'll see what happens, and it having a good impact. I think often it's about the goals you give the team, the training you give the team, and having the right person on the right message. Because a lot of, whether that's AI or a human being, a lot of the time, the right person, the person who's great at the phone calls is not the person who's great at the live chat or the person who's great at the forms or the emails. And it's recognizing there's a different skill set there. I'm going to jump over to Oleg, though, because he's been nodding throughout all of these voraciously. So I'm guessing you've got a take on this too, Oleg.
Yeah, I totally agree with the previous speakers. I would maybe just add that it's not only a great customer service, but it's a seamless customer service. That's the one that drives the revenue up. And based on what we've seen with our Shopify clients, they can generate leads. They can create this kind of like connection with their customers that then return reducing the customer acquisition cost for them and improving the ROI, not only of the app, but of the entire business that they provide, which is really important now. And I just can't imagine having great sales without a very good customer service department.
Excellent. And Mark, your take on this? I'm guessing, given your what you do, you see a lot of the revenue growth because it's one of those niches within the, or niches within the space that you can really measure it, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of e-commerce brands just kind of see customer service as one of the other kind of fundamentals of growth in their business, instead of seeing it as a progressive kind of layer that you add on top of a business bit by bit. So, sometimes you'll just kind of throw everything at once and you'll just mix kind of marketing and ad sales on top of a bunch of other, product and other operations in your business. But I think that customer service needs to come in at the very basic level, at the foundational level of running an e-commerce business, or any business for that matter. Because if you cannot, if you don't have like a customer service department that operates well, or in this quote, a great customer service department, then the rest won't follow. And there's no point of kind of scaling on top of that until you have that fundamental down pack. Whether you're using AI or some other tool to service that, it's just the rest won't follow properly, or won't scale. So certainly there's no question that a great customer service department will drive revenue, and it's important to actually start there before trying to scale up.
Yeah, I think that's one of those things. I think we keep coming back to it. There's so many bits you could do. Don't try and do it all at once. Try and do each bit and get it right. Love that answer. Thank you, Mark. I'm going to jump. This is for none of you know what's on the next slide anyway. The panelists do, and I'm going to jump 2 slides because I think we've probably pretty much answered this one. So I'm going to go on to this one, which I think is kind of where we're going. It's playing into that segmentation piece and having the right solution for the right area. Brendan, I'll let you answer first again on this one if you like.
Yeah, okay, thank you. There's a hint in the question as to what the answer might be. So having the right people or bots working on the right tasks is the way to maximize ROI. And so if we think about that and where the industry is going, I guess I see 3 ways that technology can bring efficiency and improve the ROI of customer services. So the first is having, and I would say this, kind of a platform that enables you to kind of manage things better, right? So again, the chaos I talked about at the start, which is trying to check different systems and unify data in one place, is something that startups will do. They create their Amazon store and their Shopify store, and they're logging into different things, and so having kind of taking that pain away is kind of one of the first things. And when it comes to the role of, and we'll dive in a little bit on AI and where it really kind of adds value, is the first use case is really about helping the people on your team to do their jobs kind of faster and better, right? So one simple example is it's comes from our customers and listening to them and seeing how when we launch AI kind of like Copilot or AI assistant services, simple things like the end of day handover, right? Which if you think of a customer service team and they're working through all of their kind of customer queries during a day and trying to deal with conversations, and conversations are asynchronous, so not everything gets closed in a day. At the end of the day, they typically have to go through and kind of be ready for whoever's taking over from them, or maybe getting everything set up for the next day and kind of doing summaries, right? So and wrap ups and all that kind of stuff. And that's done with a single click for you, right? At the end of the day, thanks to AI. Finding all the data and personalizing responses and answers, right? AI just does a lot of that lift for you. That means then as a team, you can get more accurate answers prepared and shipped much more efficiently, right? So it makes the team kind of faster at doing their kind of day job. And then the big shift that we're seeing right now in the customer service, let's call it software industry, is taking that one step further. And we've all figured out in the last 12 months, since kind of generative AI has really kind of taken hold in the industry, is that there are quite a lot of customer interactions that can be resolved or handled with AI. And if you take what customers' expectations of customer experience or customer services specifically is, I want it fast, I want it reliable, and I want it personal. Okay, well, they're the three things I think about, and for a lot of queries, maybe about half or more of queries of things that people ask, AI can do a very good job of answering it really fast, dealing with it really fast, being very reliable because it has access to data and is able to consume more data and information than maybe a human can. And because it has the customer context, then it can be personal and it can respond personally. And so I think what we're seeing now is a massive change in and understanding that actually, yeah, the quality of what's available in the market in terms of answering customer questions reliably, fast, and in a personalized way is much better than it was a year ago. Which means then that the human team can focus on what you might call second level support, more complex, more emotive, dealing with VIP customers, training kind of AI systems and solutions. And I think what's going to happen is, and we all see it and we know it in almost every sector that any of us work in, AI is changing how we work and changing the type of work that we do. And I think that's a good thing, right? But others might have other views on that.
I like it. So you're taking my statement a little bit further there, Brendan. It's not just about the right tasks, it's about where in the right tasks. It's not like returns management will just give that to a bot. It's this bit could be a part of that bit could be like the handovers actually covers everything. But if you can speed that up, you've got another couple of hours a day of customer service team rather than them working on handovers.
Yeah.
So
and we see it just very quickly in our own business, like our own support team. We're deploying our own technology with our own team and freeing them up, which means they actually, when I talk about our team of support agents, they actually know our customers and our product better than almost anyone else in the company. So we're actually freeing them up now to spend more time actually helping customers, which is a good thing, right?
Now, either Oleg or Mark was coming in there, but I'm not sure who it was.
That was me.
I know it wasn't Rosie, because it definitely wasn't Rosie's voice. Was it you, Oleg?
Yeah, I was.
Yeah.
I think Brendan, you nailed it, and I think we came to very similar conclusions. And I again totally agree with everything you said, even from the perspective of like my team providing customer service. So it's a kind of like a dream within a dream kind of situation, like in Inception. But from the e-commerce perspective specifically, I think that whoever nails the connection between the human expertise, the AI, and like the most frequent questions that you don't even need the AI for will win the hearts of their customers, because like you said, people want replies fast, they want the accuracy, and they don't really mind getting most of the answers through the AI, but very quickly on the spot. Then if they need this human expertise, then they can connect to a human. And it's kind of hard now with all the handovers, with the fallback messages. So the first one to connect it all, including all of the customer information, I think will win it.
Nice. Please do.
Just a counter viewpoint. I can see that having an integrated system is the gold standard. I don't dispute that. But for a smaller brand who needs a, frankly, instant solution, what I found really interesting, so Nibble does 25,000 chats a month, which is a lot for us, but not many for some people, right? But what's really interesting is it only chats about one thing, and it very, very rarely gets asked about something else. And it's often one of our clients' first concerns is like, what happens if someone's got a customer service query? I don't know, they've lost their delivery, and they start getting angry with Nibble because Nibble can't help them with that. And do you know how infrequently that happens? It's really interesting. And so I think the cheap and cheerful possibility for some brands is to make it very clear before you sort of click the button what this, let's say, chatbot or form can help you with. And actually, then you don't need that perfect integrated viewpoint where you know all about the customer. So it's not that I'm disputing that that's the gold standard. I'm just saying there might be a quick fix that says there are some activities that you can launch in a completely different place on your website that you can isolate down to a bot solution. And people, because they know when they click the button, that's all they're going to get a chance to ask about, then don't get disappointed when they don't have that complete experience.
I totally get where you're coming from there, Rosie, because I think that how you bring the customer into the experience is so important to make sure they understand what they're actually going to get. And it's one of those one of the other slides I had on here, which I was just thinking we're kind of covering now, which is there are certain areas where it's a no-brainer to deploy, and I can see how you could have a chat that's delivery query, click here, quick response, because all the data is available. You don't really need a human crunching it, but it's all there and it's all ready to go. So I think that's what you're saying, Rosie. There are some areas where actually,
yeah, exactly. And as long as when they click the button, they know that they're not going to get a broader experience, I think that's okay.
Yeah, get that quick response, that quick piece. But it really shows that the customer service solution is going to be very nuanced or very different. One of those two words for different brands. Brendan, Oleg, have you seen brands doing it in particularly different ways in your experience? Have there been some implementations recently that have really surprised you of how they've been taking what you're offering and making it work for them? Brendan, I'll come to you first because I can see you nodding.
So look, it very much depends on the dynamics of a business. So for example, let's maybe imagine a technical product, and it could be something like a garden barbecue, right? That and it's not that technical, right? But it's mass volume, and what you might see on a website kind of chatbot might be a lot of queries around kind of specifications and installation help and very specific things that are quite a mix of pre-sale and sale, and it's not actually there's a real problem, but I'm looking for support and advice on I'm using the product and and how do I do things kind of. So I think more what we're seeing is more technical products need different types of data repositories made available to them. If it's a marketplace integration and you don't have that capability for chat, typically if you're the seller on a marketplace, then yeah, you need to automate all those very simple delivery transactional kind of queries and make sure that that's done really, really quickly and really, really fast. And maybe I was going to jump in on Rosie's point a little bit is, we've seen the negatives with AI around things like DHL and or DPD, wherever it was. Sorry, name checking the wrong failure. But the and I think to Rosie's point, I think what we're seeing is that and it's where we're and ourselves and probably people like Tidio are kind of focusing, and Rosie as well is focusing on narrowing the scope, right? So if you're a very generic AI solution, then by default you actually have to be very open and you can ask any random types of questions, and that doesn't help, right, with delivering a high quality service. So I think what we've seen is the scope is narrowing, the guardrails are being put in place, and the AI is being really, really well trained in very specific use cases. And I'm guessing it's all our experiences, but the narrower that is in terms of like a focus on e-commerce or a focus on different parts of the e-commerce journey, then the more reliable the AI will perform.
Yeah, so it's almost like we're going to have multiple mini AIs enabling our humans to spend their time on the right things. Oleg, what's your take on this?
Yeah, I started wondering about that, and I remember this one customer recently. We did an interview with them, and since they've implemented Lyro, our AI solution, they've sold services for like over $60,000, and they are like a spa place in the USA, and that's not usually our target group. Like we are mostly focused on e-commerce, but that specific case where they wanted to help people book meetings and choose the right type of spa treatment. Worked like a charm for them, and it still provided that conversational feeling, and it was doing this very specific, almost like a technical job of booking the meetings and answering questions about specific treatments. So we've helped them collect all the data and all the knowledge about these spa treatments, and Lyro can just answer it on the go and then book this meeting.
Cool. So like a specifically trained bot for that one role for them. Nice. Mark, it's great to have you back with us. We were just we just kind of drifted into the arena of surprising use cases from customer service examples. If you've got one, we'd love to hear it. I'll give you a second to think about it. And Rosie, I'll come and see if you've got some as well in a minute. But just anyone who's out there, I'm assuming because you're not asking us questions that you don't want to ask any. But if you do want to ask some questions, on the whole, you've seen how wide this remit of customer services is here, from your team to returns to delivery to customer reviews, the whole thing. I've missed so much of it. Actually taking orders, maybe. Who knows?
It's quite old-fashioned,
Chloe. Taking an order. I've been
selling stuff.
I've been recording a lot of content about catalogs and offline marketing and revisiting my past over the last week or so. So I'm a little bit stuck in the 2000s at the moment in my head. But yeah, any of these things, please do send your questions through, because as you see, we've got a brilliant set of panelists here ready to answer them. But Mark,
and by the way, sorry for I've been in this apartment for like 2 years and I've never had any connection issues. All of a sudden, this happens when I'm on a live, of course. But
of course.
I mean, I'm glad that you're going in that direction, just talking about the wide range of customer service, how broad the topic really is. Because I think when we talk about customer service, the first thing that comes to mind is shopper on your website has an inquiry and where's the live chat? Let me help that customer by live chat or submit a ticket. And it's just, one-to-one ticket submission and answer from some customer service agent on the back end. But customer service is, as you're saying, Chloe, so broad. It's a customer has an issue, has a question, has a pain point, and it's how does that issue get resolved? And that could be through this live chat. It could be through support ticketing system, but it could often be through an FAQ on the page. It could be through the review section of the page. It could be through your YouTube channel and unboxing videos. And, so it's interchangeable with the experience that the customer is really having. And I think that looking at this topic holistically is the right approach to it. And that's where our kind of approach comes to this topic as well, is leveraging your customer base. It's a huge untapped asset that brands often forget. I mean, yes, you have referral programs. It's the first thing that your mind often goes to when thinking about how to engage with your existing customer base is, okay, let me ask them for referrals. But there's so much more to them that you can pair up with them with, and they'll be happy to do it because oftentimes they're super fans of your product if you've delivered a good product and a good experience. And in our context, it's like, okay, how can they come in and support customers that have similar questions to you? And what's cool about it is there's a lot of questions can be localized as well. Like if you take an example of a shopper looking to buy some outdoor furniture, the outdoor furniture that's purchased in a wintry city or a city that gets harsh weather conditions versus, a city like LA where it's just, often dry and warm all the time. Well, that furniture is going to have a different wear and tear on it based on where you're purchasing. So imagine being able to ask someone, right, a question that has purchased that furniture, that product in the same neighborhood or same city that you have, and being able to ask localized questions to them. And that's one of the examples or advantages of bringing in your customer base to facilitate in your customer service department. So it's kind of where we're at with it.
For anyone who can get past the initial nerves of doing that, in those kind of product categories, there's so much scope. And like you said earlier, it's like UGC on steroids. Rosie, I know that since, because we've had lots of conversations about it, since Nibbles started, you've been evolving and learning the best way to use a negotiation chatbot. So I'm sure you've got some fascinating case studies for how people have been using this. What's been a surprising use case you've seen that, kind of pushing the boundaries of what we might think is possible with pushing the boundaries? I'm not, just not challenging you at all here. We want the best.
I think the places that we've seen them the most sort of, it's sort of surprising and obvious, is there are some places where you kind of expect to negotiate in real life, and negotiation is not very widely talked about in Britain. It's culturally a little bit nerve-wracking, but there are other cultures where it's much more normal. But on high-ticket discretionary items, both in a direct consumer and a business-to-business environment, it still happens. And honestly, if you go into a major electronics retailer in a store, even in the UK, and you say, come on, mate, can I get another $20 or £20 off this? They probably have a tiny bit of scope. They can probably put it through under an employee discount or something like that. And so we're seeing quite a lot of expectations to be able to have that conversation online, and actually not being able to have that conversation online is causing people to window shop online and then go into store to purchase, which is great if they do complete the purchase. But then what happens if they window shop online and then go to your competitor? So actually it's better to be able to have that kind of conversation. And then I would say, once you've had that conversation, you would be astounded how much closer you get to your customer. Because you're having a conversation when they're enthusiastic about your brand and enthusiastic about your product, they then tell you things that you would not expect to hear. So I'm buying this mattress for my spare room, or this bottle of gin is a gift from my mother-in-law. You must be joking if I pay full price for it. That really did happen. But of course, you laugh at the experience, but now you know when their mother-in-law's birthday is, right? So what are you going to do with your marketing next year? So actually, or you know that your customer is always window shopping Amazon for pricing insights before they shop with you. And they will tell you this kind of thing, partly because it's a chatbot, and that gives them the sort of confidence. There are some places where people are more honest and more open with chatbots than they are with humans. And funnily enough, negotiation and that sort of price haggle seems to be one of them.
That's a whole new sphere of human psychology analysis, isn't it? When are we and aren't we happier chatting to the chatbots? And I want to take us, I've got like about 20 questions sprung out of the things you guys were just sharing, but we've had a question in from the audience, which I think builds a little bit on what Mark was talking about and a little bit on what Rosie has just been talking about, which is Edward Scott Finnegan has asked us a question. Edward says, on Rosie's point on giving customers a guide on what a chatbot can do, what their remit is, he's interested to know what you all think on escalation. For example, when is it better to have this conversation via a phone or a video call? That was something I was thinking about as Rosie was saying about the in-store electronics purchasing, because there's someone that I can't which one it is, but at least one of those stores now routinely sends customer service queries to in-store staff who have a camera phone or a tablet where they're looking at things and showing it in the store, so making better use of the store space. So at what point do we do this? Oleg, you were nodding away there, so I'm guessing you've got a take on this when you want to share.
Sure, that's a bit of an anecdote from the first weeks when we released our AI tool internally within our support team. And we were, the knowledge we had for it wasn't perfect, to say the least. So we had some gaps, and we decided to start watching the AI over. So we were literally reading every conversation live as it was happening. And then at some point we were deciding, okay, let's just leave it as is. It's a pretty good conversation. Or in some cases, we had to jump in and kind of, I would say, escalate to a human in a way, and then we would take over. And later, it evolved into a feature in our product that is called Lyra Tasks, and you can almost force the AI to start some kind of a sequence or like a flow that will notify your agents, or maybe start some kind of like a marketing campaign, or based on some like conditions you set, will just do an action. And I think this covers nicely the needs of many businesses to have this kind of an escalation. And I've had a few video calls this week with customers that were asking questions about implementing Lyra in their store. And Lyra itself didn't have the full knowledge about it. So we just took over the chat, or I emailed them after the chat was over. And then we jumped on a call. So I think you have to use your expertise and know where to jump and when the right time is. However, it's I think this hybrid of AI versus human is necessary.
So we're saying let the tech decide when to escalate, rather than necessarily let the human hit the panic, not quite the panic button, but the escalation button. But it sounds like there's a lot the system can do to make sure the right ones are being sent in the right place.
Both are equally important. The things you set up on your own are probably what's going to drive extra revenue or upsells or bring people back. But the way for people on the other side of the screen who are trying to get some information, it's also important for them to give them this option to just, okay, let's just connect me to a human, give me human right away. And that was the thing we allowed from day one, just so for someone not to be stuck with an AI chatbot.
Got you. Brendan, you're nodding,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, two quick things on it, Chloe. So one is, again, picking up on what Oleg said there. Very quickly, the team in an e-commerce company, so the chatbot is, the AI is trained, to a certain level, and then very quickly we see questions that consumers are asking that aren't being answered. So because the chatbot doesn't know stuff it doesn't know, so that creates an opportunity, one, to escalate, and two, to create that content, or to make sure that the AI is pointing in the right place if that knowledge already exists somewhere. So that's just kind of like an ongoing kind of optimization, which becomes the job of the customer service team or the support team. Second one is sentiment. I think is really interesting. And so AI can pick up sentiment and see if someone's, not happy and getting a little bit frustrated, and that can be a very useful time to say, hey, would you like to chat to somebody about this? Which means that, maybe the support team are only getting the unhappy customers, but you probably want to talk to those people anyway, and have a human conversation, and maybe a phone conversation if that's kind of appropriate. So,
Rosie, on Nibble, can you jump to a human, or is it fully self-contained?
At the moment, it's fully self-contained. It's set up so that it could trigger, but it actually doesn't seem to be a problem that most people want. Partly because like I said, everybody knows why they're in that conversation, and the only reason they'd be disappointed is if they don't get a deal that they really want. But actually, at the end of the day, we don't want the human overriding that deal, because it completely undermines the offering.
Well, I suppose, yeah, if the company's worked out where they're willing to go on that product and the rules have been put into the AI bot, they're not going to get a different answer from a human anyway, aren't they? Or they shouldn't. Otherwise, what was the point in turning the bot on? Yeah,
Exactly.
Mark?
Yeah, I think that there's like this kind of adage in the startup world. A rule of thumb is like, do things that don't scale initially, and then kind of figure out how to get those to scale. And like a lot of there's e-commerce brands of every size, but a lot of the small ones, right away they'll launch a product and start automating all these features. And yeah, AI is great, it can save you time, but I think that initially, especially at the early stages of launching a new business, you want to almost take care of everything at a human level, and as much as possible you want to have one-to-one conversations with brands. You'd really welcome that. I think the question here is, at what stage do you start outsourcing that and bringing in like AI bots to handle these conversations? Because for a long time it should be handled internally. I had actually, just to even expand on that, I did a sort of AMA with Jake Liu, the founder of Outer. Outer is this outdoor furniture brand. They sell like, I think their outdoor furniture starts at like $5,000 US. So like kind of high end outdoor furniture. They've been around for, I don't know, 5-7 years now. Shark Tank company, like lots of success. But they still have humans at every stage of their customer service team. I would preface that or contextualize that by saying, mostly in like a sales context. So a lot of it is like they still do one-to-one hand holding to help upsell customers on their website and actually provide phone support for sales, really. But I just thought that was really, really fascinating that even at their size and their scale, they still bring on sales people on their back end to manually support customers on their site.
Yeah, I think it's. I love that. I think you're so right, Mark, is what I'm trying to say. Failing to get the words out, but it's very easy. I'm a marketer, so you go back to kind of like what we could do with our email automation, and you can build the most amazing flowchart. And if you then built that all as automation campaigns and all the rest of it, you'll find that at least half of them only have 100 people going through a year, and you spend all that time building it. And I think it's the same with all these tools and all these ideas. You want to wait and see where the problems are and where the opportunities are before you create everything you possibly could. And that whole do it a bit more manual first and see where it goes is so true. Another point I just wanted to make, I'm not going to ask you guys a question on it, but I think one of the things that's kind of implicitly coming out of this as well is how important it is, whether it's AI chats or it's chats with your customers or it's chats with your customer service team, to be learning from that and improving the whole organization. No one's going to disagree with me on that. I'm putting that in all of your sentences, saying you need to do that, everybody watching. That is a super important thing you need to be doing. I want to come back, because we're not getting a lot of questions from the audience. I want to come back to one of my slide questions for our panelists, just to make sure that we haven't missed anything that the wider e-commerce industry is super interested in at the moment. And it's, what is the question that you're getting asked about customer service the most at the moment? Oleg, I'll come to you first, and we'll just work our way down the column. So what are customers asking you about the most? Is it the AI options? Is it something else?
Yeah, definitely, and most of the questions are around that, because it's there's definitely a hype, but it's not only the hype. It's a really powerful tool for many businesses. I've recently got a lot of questions specifically about managing your knowledge for the AI. Like, I've had this British customer recently that installed Tidio just a couple of weeks ago. They've had their first initial chats just with human agents, so like human to human almost interactions. But when they went to consult with me on like a video call about Lyra, I was like, okay, let's start building your knowledge base, and like, where's the FAQ? Where are the documents? Like, where do you get your information? All of the like expertise from? And it's mostly from the top of their head. Like, they know it by heart. They've been selling, in their case, appliances for many years, and now it's the time to start categorizing this knowledge into specific topics, writing it down, just so we are able to feed the tool. We have a trick for that. If you get enough conversations on chat, we can help you scrape them and just get the knowledge out of the conversations, or we can just scrape your website for any relevant knowledge. The other one I get a lot is how do I automate it when I have like thousands of products with very minimal differences. There was this one company selling bolts, and the bolts, that they were just like millimeters or inches. That was the only difference between them. So this is still a bit of a challenge for AI when you have so similar products. But having all of this knowledge in one place, I think is crucial. And more teams will have dedicated knowledge managers, in my opinion, or will have someone that will go through the past conversations and try to think like, okay, what are the what are the questions people ask?
Yeah, whether you're training an AI or you're training a team, you've got to find a way of letting that knowledge out to everyone. Rosie, what's the question you're getting asked the most at the moment?
Is it Gen AI? And for some people, it's a good thing if it is, and for some people, it's not a good thing if it is. And for some people, they wish they asked that question, but then they're scared of not knowing what to do with the answer.
One of those lovely roulette wheel questions the customers like to ask.
It is a little bit, and then I want to say, yeah, it's Gen AI. You can tell your boss you've got Gen AI on the website. Or if I need to say, don't worry, it's not ChatGPT, But I suppose what I'd say on this is I'm getting the question quite a lot. I'm probably not getting it in the right way. I would really recommend people say, how does this technology work? Big companies now have AI panels. So like Fortune 500 companies now have like a procedure whereby you have to go through and get approval from an AI panel. Smaller companies are catching up, but anybody can say, how does this work? And if the person selling you the technology cannot draw it to you in a diagram, the equivalent of a whiteboard, then you need to ask the question and say, I want to get on the phone call with someone who can explain this to me. And they need to tell you where it gets a feed from an external provider, what external provider it's using, where it's controlled with fixed copy, how you make it sound like your own tone of voice. These are all perfectly reasonable questions. And I tell you, I've been pitching my technology now for 4 years, and I've only been asked how it works about twice.
Really?
Yeah. Like, people ask, oh, can I make it? They're much more interested in branding but at the end of the day, Nibble offers your customer a personalized deal. and how it chooses who gets the best deals or not is so important, right? Like, what happens if it was discriminatory? I mean, it'd be a disaster, wouldn't it? It's not, by the way. We've thought about that a lot, but I am surprised how little some of my customers are thinking about it.
Yeah, it's that another whole psychology degree. You're sending me back to uni, Rosie. Brendan, what question are you getting asked the most at the moment?
Very many aspects of the e-commerce industry are seasonal. So probably the most common question we're getting at the moment is, how many people do I need to hire this holiday season or coming into peak season? Because what people are realizing, that, as we said earlier, there's the layers of efficiency are coming in and we're starting to see them. You know, we go from, some companies have 3 people in their sales and support team throughout the year, and then they scale to 20. So do I need to hire 20 this year, Brendan, or do I need to hire kind of 12, or what do I need to hire? And working with people to try and understand, well, you got to start early. So let's start leveraging AI, getting comfortable with where it brings efficiency with your human team, and then with what we're kind of calling a hybrid or a blended team. So it'll be a combination of humans who are being assisted by AI, and then virtual agents or AI agents who are doing the heavy lift on what in the old customer service world we would have called first level support or first line support. And that's, if you think of in the holiday season, that's where a lot of the effort is on the first level. So the way people are thinking about the future is changing, and it's kind of becoming a little bit of a HR type conversation or a resource planning conversation right now.
I'm going to probably come back to that one in a minute, Brendan, but I'm going to let Mark give us his one first on what he's getting asked the most about at the moment.
Yeah, I think we have obviously a very specific context in how we fit into customer service. So I think it's important to note for us that we don't pitch our app or our platform as a customer service tool, but obviously when we're doing demos and talking with brands, like brands are very savvy, and when they're exploring this ability to kind of help boost conversion rates and help take a bit of the ease the decision-making process on considered goods. Naturally, what goes next is, hey, this could also help offset or offload some of my customer service, strain, because some questions that would normally be directed to us, the brand, can now be directed to customers. So when that thought process unrolls, and I see this always happen in real time, the natural next question about customer service answers question is, can I trust my customers to fulfill these questions, right? And can I you alluded to this before, Chloe. It's like there's that initial shock that's like, okay, this is a pretty daunting task, to be this open book and open up my customer base to field inquiries from shoppers. Can I get there? And I think that what happens is, for sure, it's not for every brand and it's not for every product category, but I think that when you sell a good product and offer a good customer service to begin with, naturally the customers that will participate in the type of program that we offer at most are going to be your top 5-10% of customers that are super fans of your product, and those people will have glowing reviews to say. You don't have to incentivize them, because they're going to be happy to share their experience and talk with other shoppers and help them, because there's something deeply gratifying about doing something like that, and especially in product categories that are more community driven. Think like kayakers, like passionate kayakers helping other kayakers in their communities. Like, that's something that's very satisfying. So I guess to summarize, like, can I get there from like a brand standpoint? Of course, there's some conditions to ask yourself first, but more often than not, the answer is yes. You can trust in your customers to support you in this customer service space.
Love that. Thank you, Mark. I was going to dive us into is AI going to reduce our customer service teams, or we're going to be redeploying them somewhere else? But I realise with only 6 minutes to go, we definitely don't have time to do justice to that question, not least because it's probably an it depends and a whole other load of elements. So I'm going to leave that. Sorry, everybody. I realise that leaves a whole open loop of unresolved questioning, but I thought it was better than me leaving it hanging and not readdressing it. So lovely panelists, the last question of our session. We have covered a lot about customer service and how it's changing and adapting to become more of a profit center with the impact of AI, all these different elements. I feel like we barely scratched the surface. So your answer to this question, you're welcome to bring something new into the fold. That's totally fine. But what if you were a brand watching this, what would be the key thing you would have? We are putting this out in May 2024, so we've got plenty of time to get something in place for peak 2024. What would be your key piece? Brendan, you look like you're grinning from ear to ear at this one, so I'll let you go first.
All right, thank you. Yeah, if I go back to the start, it's, if we think of what's maybe where AI can really help. So I think by the end of this year, we've about like 65% of our customers have adopted AI one way or another in the last 12 months. We think that'll get closer to the 100%, right? And it's about kind of the nuance, as to use your word, Chloe, from earlier, of identifying where can AI really help with speed, with accuracy, and actually providing personalized answers, and then the subtlety of knowing kind of when to have the human part of your team kind of step in and really kind of provide better, empathetic, service to VIPs, et cetera. So it's really figuring that out in the next kind of 3 to 6 months, so that if you're a peak holiday season e-commerce brand, you're ready for the scale that will happen, and then capturing all of that opportunity that's going to happen this year with the holiday season.
And I think at the moment, as all of you watching are experiencing with the panelists here, your suppliers now have a huge amount of knowledge to help you navigate this new space an awful lot better than you could have done it a year, 2 years ago. So please ask them, because they are ready to help you work out what to do. Mark, I'll come to you next, and I'll carry on around that way. So Mark, your final thought, please.
Yeah, I mean, I think that AI is deeply important, and I endorse it wholeheartedly. And every brand is going to have to adopt it in one form or another. I think it's interesting. One of the questions that we'd get most often from investors when we were raising for most is, why bring on your customers here? Why kind of leverage them and facilitate these interactions when, an AI bot can replace all that just as easily. And I think that what's going to happen is it's important for brands to remember that eventually that human touch will become scarce and will be valued, because shoppers are just gonna crave that human one-to-one experience that we are very quickly losing. I think there was like a study or research that came out that was like the number one question these bots get asked is talk to a human. It's not even like they refuse to just even ask questions. They start typing in talk to a human, because they don't want to go through this like cycle where if it's not trained properly, and I know a lot of them at the early stages are a little bit challenging like that, so they just want to get through that. So I think that it's important that as the entire industry shifts one way, and now it's like, okay, well then how can I stand out again against this grain of every other of my competitors is offering these AI bots? Well, hey, what if I bring back this human connection back? Okay, now I offer something that they don't. I think that's important to maybe keep an eye on as things progress here in this space.
Yeah, we are definitely moving to a space where there is high value human interaction from your customers and from your team, and then the AI is dealing with the other bits, so the humans can do the higher stuff. I think it will all end up in a good place. We're just going to have to navigate our way. Oleg, your final thought, please.
Very quickly, just to mix what Mark and Brendan said, like learn how to balance the AI-driven automation with maintaining like a personal touch, and people will love it.
Succinctly and perfectly put. Thank you very much, which has made me a lot less nervous about finishing on time. Rosie, your final thought, please.
Don't assume that the AI bot can't give the personal touch, Oleg, is my thought on that. My AI bot is doing something more difficult than the majority of customer service reps, in that the majority of your customer service reps have not been trained in negotiation. So I would say we are tackling the more difficult problem, and we're doing it in a highly emotive way. But I think the one thing I would say, and I'm excited by what Mark does at Most as well, is customer service can happen before the purchase. And I think before peak season, I would think about 1 or 2 places you could do something new and different before purchase to drive revenues.
Love it. An intriguing one.
That was
there,
well said.
Rosie.
Well said.
Thank you. Okay. Well, everybody, that is us at the end. How do I summarize that? I think we're all going to have to watch it again, basically. Customer service should be a key part of your growth strategy, your profit strategy. It's not an area you can forget about and ignore anymore, because it has so much power to integrate into the rest of your business, as well as to drive great performance in and of itself. We've just hit the hour mark, so I better do this quickly. Huge thank you to all of you for tuning in live. Great to have you there. You've been very quiet today, so you must be taking in a lot. So it's been very cool having you out there nonetheless. Huge thank you to our sponsors, eDesk and Tidio. Awesome to have you on board for this. Especially cool to have 2 of you here, Brendan and Olek, giving such great answers as well. Thank you to Rosie and Mark for joining us with your kind of very far away but very close together perspectives on all of this too. And you will be getting the email about the replay very soon, so please do share it with your teams, ask them to watch it again. It's there, free access for all of you. And next time we're going to be talking product, so another nitty-gritty complex area of the e-commerce mix that really should be integrated with everything else, but so frequently isn't. Anyway, I'll tell you about that next time. You can sign up for that right now. The link will be in the replay, and you can also head to web5.ecommerceexplored.com to get our products and profits session. Anyway, thank you all so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Thanks, Kate.
Bye.